अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। आज हमने यूनिट नंबर 3 करना है, उसकी रीडिंग स्टार्ट करनी है। 9053 जो है ये कोर्स कोड है और इसमें यूनिट नंबर 3 की हमने आज रीडिंग करनी है। टॉपिक का नेम है हमारे पास इंग्लिश लिटरेचर ड्यूरिंग द 16th सेंचुरी। अब हम रीडिंग पहले क्यों ज़रूरी है आपके लिए, क्योंकि इससे आपकी प्रोनंसिएशन स्किल्स थोड़ी ठीक होंगी। एज अ BS इंग्लिश स्टूडेंट इट इज़ रियली इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू हैव अ गुड प्रोनंसिएशन बिकॉज़ अभी आपके पास टाइम है सीखने का। मैं भी इतनी ज़्यादा मिस्टेक कर सकती हूँ, आपने उधर से मीन्स ये हो ही नहीं सकता कि मुझसे मिस्टेक्स ना हों। लर्न कर रहे हैं सारे, अभी लर्निंग स्टेज पे हैं सारे। तो अगर मुझसे गलती होती है तो आपने वो गलती नहीं करनी। आपने जो मैं वर्ड्स सही करके प्रोनाउंस नहीं कर सकती, मैं आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कोशिश कर रही हूँ इंशाल्लाह। तो आज हम यूनिट 3 की रीडिंग स्टार्ट करेंगे और इसमें सिर्फ हम रीडिंग पे फोकस करेंगे और उससे नेक्स्ट वीडियो में इंशाल्लाह हम इस चीज़ को जो लिखा हुआ है कंटेंट उसे समझने की कोशिश करेंगे इंशाल्लाह। सो यूनिट नंबर 3 इंग्लिश लिटरेचर ड्यूरिंग द 16th सेंचुरी। तो इसमें हमारे पास ओवरव्यू है। The Tudor dynasty ruled the British Isles in the 16th century, and English literature continued to develop and improved in quality and quantity in this period of time. In this period, the movement of Renaissance or revival of knowledge reached the British Isles and produced strong influences on English literature. The movement of Reformation of Christianity, called Protestantism, also reached Britain during the 16th century, and by the end of the century, the Church of England was declared the Protestant Church. New inventions and discoveries also contributed to the shaping of English literature. The English literary artists of the 16th century, on one hand, learned from the different sources of ancient and contemporary knowledge, and on the other hand, boldly made experiments and produced unique works. Different English translations of the Bible were made. Prose, a form of English language, was used for writing history, pamphlets, autobiographies, instructions, and telling stories. The English poets learned to compose sonnets and use blank verse and developed and polished both these techniques. Edmund Spenser wrote The Faerie Queene, a narrative poem containing the elements of epic and romance. The group of literary artists called the University Wits produced a large body of English poetry, prose, and plays. William Shakespeare, besides narrative poems and a sonnet sequence, also produced several poetic plays which still carry universal appeal. Objectives. After reading this unit, students will be able to define the following terms: Renaissance, second is Reformation, C. Sonnet, and number D. University Wits. Name different English monarchs of the Tudor dynasty in chronological order. Differentiate between two types of sonnets. Demonstrate their knowledge of different types of prose works produced in English during the 16th century. Discuss the development of genre of sonnet in English poetry during the 16th century. Enlist different poetic works of Edmund Spenser and recognize the salient features of each work. Discuss the contributions of Christopher Marlowe, Sir Walter Raleigh, William Shakespeare, Chidiock Titchborne, and George Peele in English poetry. Enlist the plays written by the university wits and place them in the categories of history, comedy, and tragedy. And state and discuss the significant features of plays written by Christopher Marlowe. By the beginning of the 16th century, English language entered its new phase of development called modern English. A great body of literature was produced in modern English during the 16th century. The genres of poetry and prose further developed, and drama entered as a new trend in literature. The literary artists of English language adopted some new trends popular in contemporary continental Europe and experimented and produced nationalistic English literature. So the English poets So the English poets, like their Italian contemporaries, composed sonnet sequences. ठीक है, and also produced The Fairy Queen, an epic poem praising the majesty and grandeur of Elizabeth, the English Queen. A new metrical form of blank verse was introduced in poetry and used in drama as well. The genre of drama, and especially the tragedy, developed further with the plays written by Christopher Marlowe and William Shakespeare. अच्छा, इसमें मेरी ये टोन जो है वो बार बार चेंज हो रही है, वो मुझे खुद नहीं समझ आ रहा मैं कैसे कर रही हूँ. आई डोंट नो, आई हैव नो आइडिया अबाउट इट. ये क्या हो रहा है मेरे साथ. अच्छा, in addition to poetry and drama, significant amount of secular and religious prose was also written in this period. The English literature produced during the 16th century was greatly influenced by the contemporary political, religious, geographical, scientific, and social changes occurring in Europe as well as in the British Isles. Thus, the Renaissance, the Reformation, the Tudor reign, the defeat of Spanish Armada, the defeat of Spanish Armada and the discovery of the Americas, etc., all contributed in shaping the English literature. In order to analyze the literature produced in English during the 16th century, it is essential to understand the factors that affected it and formed its background. The background. The Renaissance. The transitory period between the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of the modern age is called Renaissance, and it includes the 16th and 17th centuries. This age is also known for cultural renewal and a revival of knowledge. A political event served as a catalyst for this movement of revival of forgotten knowledge in Europe. It all started at Constantinople, now called Istanbul. Constantinople had been the capital of the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire since 395 CE. It was the center of Christianity and contained significant churches like the Hagia Sophia and Orthodox Catholic Church. During the Christian rule, Constantinople was also the center of various art and cultural activities. When Mehmed II conquered Constantinople in 1435 CE, it brought an end to the Christian rule in Near East, now called Turkey. The Christian Byzantine scholars were afraid of the new Muslims ruler, and many moved to different Christian countries in Europe. These scholars took with them the books, including translations of great works of ancient Greek and Roman scholars, including Plato, Aristotle, Archimedes, Homer, Ptolemy, Plutarch, Boethius, Lucan, Cicero, and Quintilian. These works, written by pagan Greek and Roman scholars, were banned in Europe during the Middle Ages because the Christian priests considered the ideas mentioned in these ancient works contrary to Christian beliefs and practices. While in different Muslim countries, including the kingdoms of Umayyad and Abbasids in the Middle East, these books were translated in Arabic, Aramaic, Aramaic, and Persian languages and read and admired. Thus, the fall of Constantinople and consequently the arrival of Christian scholars in Europe in the latter half of 15th century reintroduced the people of Europe to the scientific, political, social, economic, and literary works produced by great Greek and Roman scholars. The European scholars enthusiastically received these books, and they were translated in different European languages and consequently stimulated the movement of revival of knowledge. The knowledge of the ancient pagan scholars was adopted and expressed in the works of Christian painters, sculptors, builders, and literary artists of the Renaissance Europe. Some significant scientific inventions and geographical discoveries also contributed to the spirit of Renaissance. For instance, the Italian mathematician and astronomer Galileo Galilei invented telescope. He scientifically proved another Renaissance astronomer, Copernicus, claim that the earth revolves around the sun. Thus, the popular belief that earth was the center of the universe began to lose its significance. Similarly, the discovery of the New World or the Americas by the Genoese sailor Christopher Columbus in 1492 and Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama discovery of a western route to India in 1498 encouraged the explorers to seek new destinations. Consequently, the enterprising Europeans also began to look forward to taking control of the resources of newly found lands. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 was also significant because it brought an end to the wars called Crusades. Thus, since the 16th century, Europe began to experience a period of peace and stability during which the advancement of secular knowledge contributed to the growing resentment and anger against the practices of the Catholic Church. The culmination point of different protests against the Catholic Church was the Reformation. अब हमारे पास आता है Reformation. The Reformation in 1517, the German priest and professor of theology or study of religion Martin Luther wrote 95 theses and strongly condemned some practices of the Catholic Church. He attacked the church's corrupt practice of selling indulgences or certificates of pardon to the sinners. Luther argued that that only individual repentance can purge the spirit from the evil effects of sinful activities. He asserted that neither Pope nor any other priest can relieve the sinners. He criticized the collection of money by the sale of indulgences, arguing that this practice discourages true Christians from acts of mercy aimed to help the needy people. Similar voices protesting the corruption of officials of the church had been raised earlier, especially in the 15th century by John Wycliffe, a professor at Oxford University in England, and John Huss, a Prague-based theologian. However, Luther's voice was more audible because his ideas were printed and published by the Gutenberg press in Germany and soon reached the public. Thus, Luther's condemnation of Catholic Church laid the foundations of a new sect in Christianity called Protestantism. This new sect gradually gained approval and popularity in northern Europe. It was introduced in the British Isles as well as and flourished during the reign of the Tudors. The reign of the Tudors. Henry VII means Henry VII was the founder of the Tudor dynasty. He was enthroned in 1485 and brought peace to the England by ending the war between the royal families of York and Lancaster, both claiming their right to the English throne. In fact, Henry VII belonged to the Lancaster family and married Elizabeth of York. He improved England's relation with Scotland by marrying his daughter to James IV of Scotland. He also married his elder son Arthur to the Spanish princess Catherine of Aragon. Thus, these political marriages helped Henry VII to establish his rule in England. After Henry VII's death, his son Henry VIII became the king in 1509 and ruled till 1547. Henry VII married 6 times and 3 of his children succeeded him and ruled Britain. He was initially a Catholic Christian and defended the position of the church against the campaign of Protestants. In 1519, he received the title of Defender of Faith for the book he wrote and was titled Defense of the Seven Sacraments. However, his relation with the Catholic Church changed when he asked for a permission to annul or cancel his marriage with Catherine of Aragon so that he could marry Anne Boleyn. The church denied the permission and Henry VIII felt offended. He reacted by establishing the Church of England in 1533 and gradually extended his control over the 3,000 churches in England and confiscated their gold, jewels and land. In 1547, after the death of Henry VIII, his 9-year-old son Edward VI became the king of England, and during his reign the Church of England was turned into a Protestant church. The people of England, however, was divided. Some adopted Protestantism, while others adhered to Catholicism. Before Edward died at the age of 15 in 1553, Before Edward died at the age of 15 in 1553, he handed over the throne to his cousin Lady Jane Grey, who ruled for only 9 days, and was arrested and executed by Mary, the daughter of Henry VIII. And Catherine of Aragon. During 5 years of Mary's reign, she suppressed Protestantism and revived Catholicism. She was therefore called Mary the Catholic. She executed several Protestants by publicly. She executed several Protestants by publicly burning them on stake. The people of England did not like Mary's brutal treatment of her religious opponents. Also, her marriage with Philip II, the King of Spain, added to her unpopularity. Mary's death in 1558 led to Elizabeth I's reign, which lasted until 1603. Elizabeth I was the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. During the half century of Elizabeth I's rule, several significant events took place and affected the course of history. Although the Queen Elizabeth I liked Catholicism and its rituals, yet the breach between the Catholic Church and England widened during her reign. In 1570, the Church declared the Queen illegitimate child of Henry VIII and consequently not eligible to rule England. It offended the Queen, who so far had a soft corner in her heart for the Catholic Church. The ultimate result for this declaration was that the Church of England was finally established as a Protestant church, and Elizabeth I became its supreme governor. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 at the hands of a small English naval fleet strengthened the position of the Queen and that of England as a naval power of Europe. Elizabeth encouraged exploration and knighted Francis Drake for his circumnavigation of the world. She also sent Sir Walter Raleigh to North America, and he founded an English colony in the state of Virginia. Elizabeth I developed trade relations with Muslim countries including Morocco and Ottoman Empire. And the famous East India Company was established in 1601 to trade with India, ruled by the Mughals at that time. The reign of Elizabeth is also well known for several literary artists who produced great works. Elizabeth patronized these artists and rewarded and encouraged them. Sir Philip Sidney, Sir Edmund Spenser, Sir Walter Raleigh, and Christopher Marlowe served as courtiers in Elizabeth's court. William Shakespeare also produced his plays and poetry during her reign. Similarly, another group of literary artists called the University Wits also gained popularity and fame due to their poetry, plays, and prose works. These literary artists were the students of Cambridge and Oxford universities, and therefore they were called the University Wits, not in their lifetime, but since the 19th century. The most renowned of these men of letters was Christopher Marlowe, while the others included in this group were Robert Greene, Thomas Nash, John Lilly, and George Peele. The playwright Thomas Kidd, though not a student of any university, was also a well-known literary artist in the latter half of the 16th century.